Hey guys, welcome to Hey guys, welcome to a new video. We are the Castanedas, and today we're gonna talk about top 3 things we wish we knew before getting married.
Yeah, so before we got married, we did weeks of counseling, premarital counseling. We were in ministry school and we had lots of mentors all around, but still, these are 3 things that we wish we were told before we got married.
Now, before we get started, I wanted to quickly mention this shirt. It's really good, very comfy and everything, and you can get it yourself through the link in the description, or use code Gerardo 711.
We'll put it here
to get 15% off every purchase.
Yes.
Go check it out. They have amazing products, or amazing t-shirts, sweatshirts, and you'll check it out by yourself. It's amazing. So go check it out.
Now on to the top 3 things we wish we knew before we got married. And we have our little notebook here. So number 1 is that we wish we would have known that getting married does not get rid of all your problems. And that you may say that seems so obvious, Olivia, but truly I believed, like, when you get married, kind of like a huge chunk of problems leave. And that's just not true. You still have to have and cultivate self-control of yourself, your mind, your will, and your emotions.
Yeah, and I think we kind of heard about it, like she said, it's something obvious. We kind of have heard about it in the past, like for example, getting married is not going to get rid of your addiction to pornography, for example, or this, like all those things don't, but you don't you don't know the actual meaning of it until you're there.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, so this is what it means. So,
like, I think one thing for me was that I was like, oh, I'm getting married now, so I'm gonna automatically have this, like, protection blanket over me of, like, I'm with my husband, so I no longer have to guard my mind. But that's not true. You actually have to guard your mind way more being married in a different way than you do single. So it's not like I just had this expectation of, like, okay, I'm gonna get married and I'm gonna have this beautiful life and it's just gonna be like smooth sailing and flowers and cooking and all these things, and it is that, but a majority of the time it's not. And so I want you guys, if you are single or you're about to get married, to realize, or if you are married and you're watching this video of, like, can we relate with them, that marriage life, like, being married is not perfect, and we've only been married 4 months.
Like, there are so many things that you don't really you don't really know until you're married. For that, like, definitely
you just don't understand. Like, there's things I think I heard my parents say that I was like, that's such a weird thing, and then now I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally understand what they mean, or why this was, like, such a thing in our house, understanding that, like, being married.
And another thing that I honestly think that it's important, very important, is before you get married, since getting married doesn't get rid of all your problems, you should work on that, being single
with the Holy Spirit, and with His grace,
with community,
with community.
People over you.
Definitely surround yourself. If you're a woman, surround yourself with other women. If you're a man, surround yourself with other men.
Accountability, all those things are very important.
Yeah, one of the best things, we were wanting to get married way earlier than we did, and we sat down with someone and he was like, you're wanting to get married, but you have no bridesmaids. And I was like, oh, that's a really good point. Yeah. So that was an area I had to work on, was, like, surrounding myself with community and not just us, because we're not everything. We can't be everything. Even though it's the Lord, our spouse, and then future and our children, but then everybody else. Yeah. We still cannot be 100% everything, because we do have a great commission. We do have a call that we're meant to reach for the Lord. Yeah. And if we're continually obsessed with each other, that's not really
and just making sure that if you have addictions, if you have problems, if you have things that you're struggling with, make sure to get rid of them, or
be vulnerable
with the Lord. Allow Him to get rid of those things, like, take those things out of you, work on them, like, be vulnerable.
If they haven't caused a problem yet, They will cause a problem in your marriage. I
Yes.
can guarantee porn will cause a problem in your marriage.
Yes.
It tears people apart.
Yes.
It is disgusting.
Yeah.
It's
So
horrible.
yeah, definitely work on that before getting married, because if you don't, you're gonna bring that into marriage.
Yeah.
And that's just like, getting married is not like, oh, here I take off these things and they disappear. No, they come to you, and they are now both problems. So
Yeah. And you're actually
Definitely.
bringing someone into your deep process with you. So say you wait, like, say you have, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and because this is the first thing that popped into my mind. Say you have a sexual abuse trauma from when you were 5 years old, and you're carrying this around with you as a victim or as someone who doesn't want to get rid of it yet.
Yeah.
And you have an opportunity to go ahead and be like, Lord, I carry this pain. I give it to you. He wants to take that pain away from you. Because when you get married, you're clinging yourself to him. You're becoming one with your husband or with your wife. And now it's not just you dealing with it. He's going to deal with it too. And so we've had some things, not like that, not anything crazy, but we've had some things where if we would have dealt with them before our marriage,
it would have saved hours.
it would have saved both of our emotions.
Yeah.
Like, it would have saved his emotions. It would have saved my emotions to not be so one and so deeply connected to their past. So it's just a tip for, like, if you're single, we're just putting this in here in this. If you're single, work towards letting the Lord's perfect love perfect you, and which you're not required to be perfect, but let it come and wash over you and perfect you. And then work on how you can love your spouse. My favorite verse, which I will tell every single person, because I read it over and over and over again before getting married, is 1 Corinthians 13. And see how the Lord loves you in that way. See how, and ask the Lord to cultivate love for your future spouse, love for people in that way. And then one day when you do get married, you will also see how your spouse loves you in that way as well.
So yeah, that would be point number one.
Yeah, that's point number one.
There's a lot of things to talk about in that point, that like, not all your problems disappear, but these are the things that we felt. These are the things that we...
This is our experience.
This is our experience, and what came to mind. So, yeah.
Number 2 on our list is every emotion that your spouse feels and expresses is not always directed towards you, even though it feels like it, and it's not always because of you. If your spouse is mad, it's not only because you did something.
Probably his favorite football team lost.
Yeah, and he comes in super sad. You're laying here reading a book. He comes in super sad, and our immediate reaction is to say, what's wrong with you? What's wrong? This is something we did learn from counseling, was that is really bad way to express
It's an accusation.
that. You should say, hey, are you feeling down? Or do you feel bad right now?
Are you okay? Or
Do you
what is
need
going
something? Do you have something going on that's making you sad? And there may be a chance, because this happens a lot with me, that I walk in and he thinks I'm completely mad, and I'm like,
It has happened
fine.
before.
I'm literally fine. Or I'm just tired. Or I just need a moment alone. It has nothing to do with him. It has nothing to do even really with me. It's just nothing's wrong. And we think something's wrong. A lot of times we as people just tend to do that.
And this is our experience. Like, you probably don't struggle with that, but we're very emotional persons. So, people. But if you're going through that, like, this is a really good point. Really good tip.
Being married is literally learning how to, you just get to react together and see a fuller picture of a circle of emotion in that way.
Yeah, and just take into consideration each other. Like, oh, you react this way. I don't see it that way, but I understand how it could be.
I validate that you feel that way.
Yeah.
And the best thing I think our premarital counselor told us, he was like, okay, if he's feeling bad, there is allowed to be a slight disconnect between you guys in the sense of, okay, you're allowed to feel bad and I'm allowed to feel good. Like if he's playing a game or something with a friend and I just saw a post on Instagram that made me mad, he's allowed to say, okay, I validate what you're saying, you're allowed to feel mad, and I'm allowed to feel okay and feel good about that. And same with vice versa. And then there's moments where you come together and you mourn with those who mourn, or you rejoice with those who rejoice in the same way. But you are allowed to have a
good moments.
Good moment.
Without the other person having it.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't mean you're going to ignore it. It's not ignoring. It's just you're your own person too. You're not fully attached to that person to be like, oh, you're sad, I'm gonna be sad now.
Like
no.
Our minds are not exactly the same. We see very different on a lot of things. We have the same values, which is important. We have the same morals. We are equally yoked, but we are very individual. We are very different in how we react. We're very different in how we feel. We're very different in how we think. I'm very logical. He is very emotional. It's very funny sometimes.
Abstract.
Very abstract. And I'm very like, okay, the shoe is red. It's red. And he's like, the shoe is red. Is it rose or is it burgundy? Like that's how we like view things.
There's a lot of. Yeah.
But often, I want to add this point though. Often, if you regularly notice in your marriage that at a certain time a person is grumpy or your spouse is upset at you, or when you do a certain thing they're upset, one, never be afraid to take responsibility. Taking responsibility never hurts anyone, and putting on that humility is beautiful. It is a beautiful picture of the marriage of Jesus and the bride, of just humbling and being like, okay, loving, and I take responsibility for that. Even if I don't think I did anything, I'm sorry that I spoke like that to you, or I'm sorry that I put my shoes in the middle of the floor. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. And I know he's made a beautiful image of that in our relationship for us. And I've tried to follow more. But and then two, is that if you notice that they're consistently grumpy, step back and look at your sleep. Because a lot of times, people are upset because they have not slept enough. Mm-hmm. Look at your stress level and look at the amount you've eaten. Because when he hasn't, slept good, he wakes up grumpy. When I am hungry, my sugar drops and I literally get so agitated so quick. And there's times where we both look at each other and I'm like, okay, do you need a nap? And he's like, I think I do. And he's like, do you need a snack? And I'm like, I think I do. And it literally fixes it. We eat or we take a nap and 30 minutes later we're good. Yeah. So don't always think like, oh my gosh, this just may be how he is. Don't identify someone with an issue. Don't identify someone with that, because that's not their identity.
There's just something going on. There's always something. There's always an emotion attached, or emotion or a need that has to be.
Yeah, a need. Sometimes the other day we just kept feeling pretty distant or something, and we needed a heart-to-heart conversation. Nothing bad. We just needed a, hey, how's your heart? Yeah. And it literally just brought us closer together. It's important. It reignites that fresh emotion of first love, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah, always take time or always make space for conversations like that. It's very important.
Make space. Put your phone down. Quit watching the show. Take a drive. I can guarantee you that your marriage is going to be so much more important than that half a tank of gas.
Yeah. So, yeah, that would be point number 2. It was, again, from experience. Yeah. We're speaking from experience. We're not just going to be like, oh, we found this article on the internet. No, we're speaking from experience. And as we're speaking this, we're also learning. It's not that we're perfect in these areas. We're speaking.
It's a good reminder. It's a good reminder for us of oh, we shouldn't have silly arguments. But real quick before we move on to point number 3, I want to say that if you like this content, you should subscribe. Yeah. You should like the video. You should comment, because we love creating this content. It's probably what most of our channel is going to be, is relationship, marriage,
Life.
travel, life. We love it. So if you want that too, subscribe, watch our videos.
Turn on
Turn on
notifications so you know when we post a video, when we upload a video. So yeah, if you like it, please like it. And even if you don't really like that much, just be kind with us and give us a like.
Yeah. All right, now on to point number 3, and our last point. And I kind of touched on this. We touched on this in the previous point, but being one does not mean that you're always the same exact person and that you will always like the same things. It's okay to pursue your own hobbies and goals as long as it's healthily communicated.
Yeah.
So it's okay if I decide that I want to play the guitar and he wants to play the Xbox. Or it's okay if he wants to play the piano and I want to read a book.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay that we're separate for that amount of time. We don't always have to be on the same page of like, hey, let's go play music together because I may not be feeling good.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah, it's totally fine. Sometimes you just don't feel the same thing that she's feeling or he's feeling. So it is totally fine to be like, we're one.
Nothing can separate us.
Nothing can separate us. Exactly. You're one, but you're not the same person sometimes, and that's something we've been realizing recently. I am very different than her. Like, we are very similar in a lot of areas, but we're very, very different.
We enjoy
in many more
different
areas.
things.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly okay. But the thing is that it needs to be healthily communicated.
Yes.
So if we're in the middle of an argument and he automatically goes, I'm going to go play the piano, that's not good. Don't do that. Don't be like, okay, we're separate now. We're choosing to be separate now. Don't
just like that. Not like that. You have to be also considerate of the other person. Like, something we both do is, hey, so I've not been thinking, but I feel like I want to go do this. Is it okay for you? Do you need something from me? Do you want to talk about something? Are you going to do something else? And always try to be considerate of the other person, not only just disappear and go play the piano and then come 2 hours later and I was like, oh, I just wanted to play the piano. An example.
Yeah. Don't separate on bad terms. Don't separate. I have to say this. Do not separate unless you can't help it and you come back to the conversation. Do not separate when there's something in between you.
Yeah.
Talk until it's all settled out.
Yeah.
Like, if we both are wanting to do something different, but we have not talked about a very important thing, or like I want to go shopping and we haven't talked about our finances, don't do it. Because when you're on the wrong page, it's kind of like, I just see this picture, it's kind of like the alignment in your back being off, and after a while it gets used to that, and then it starts pinching nerves, and then it starts making your back hard from the muscles, and then you're upset and you can't walk, and that's how your marriage is gonna go. If you just let like these little things just pass, don't. Continually correct the posture of your marriage so that in the future, when you're 50 years married, you are not walking around with aches and pains and scoliosis and oh, you hurt me here but I didn't forgive you, or oh, this happened here but your tone was wrong.
Always make sure to have as much as possible things clear, and if things are just too much, yes, you also have the freedom to say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to keep this conversation right now. I need a time to think.
I need a break.
That's also okay, as long as you always come back and you don't forget that. Always go, take your time, then come back. Hey, okay, I'm ready to keep talking about this. We need to solve this. So that's definitely something.
If you feel like something's unsolved, or if the other person says something that creates anxiety in you, hit it head first. Figure out what that is, because it is hitting something that's not right in you, whether that is a trauma, whether that is an unforgiveness, whether that is just something the Lord needs to work on your own heart. I know He said some things or done some things that literally immediately give me anxiety. I'm like, hold on, what was the root of this? Because what's this connected to? Because the way I took this was not godly, because the Lord does not produce anxiety. And so we often talk until we experience peace. We will get everything out. We will talk and tell each other every single thing, no matter how much it hurts the other person. not in a mean way, but in like,
Yeah.
hey,
Honest
this is
way.
a serious thing that I'm dealing with.
Just being honest.
Until we feel a release of anxiety, until we feel the peace come back of like, okay, we are together, we are on the same page.
And so the same way that you can say it's perfectly fine to be separate, it's perfectly fine to be one, be married, and be separate, doing different things, it is also okay to say we want to be together the whole time.
That's so fine.
It is okay.
You're allowed to love your spouse. You're allowed to love being together.
That is something that
we wish we knew.
We wish we knew that it was also okay.
Yeah.
We knew it, but we had to actually realize it, and we had to hear it from someone. Hey, like, it is actually okay, and we've been realizing it. Yeah. But it is also okay to say, today I want to spend the whole day with my husband or with my wife. It is okay.
You married each other to be together.
To be together.
To do life together.
So if you want to play the piano together, you guys can do it. Go ahead. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to eat together, if you want to sit together the whole time, do it. There's nothing wrong with it.
And at the same time, in all of this, with that connection we just talked about, from making sure everything is free from our hearts, that we're in oneness, then we can be like, okay, I love you, we're good. I am going to go read a book. I'm going to go spend time with the Lord. Yeah. And you can do whatever you want to do. If you want to join me, feel free to join me. I would love to have you with me. Or, hey, I would like time alone. Maybe you can find something fun to do. Maybe you can call a friend. Maybe you can spend time with the Lord or something. From that connection.
Like, that's my responsibility.
And from that feeling of like, okay, we're together. We love being together. We're not separating because we're mad. We're not separating because we don't want to be together. We're separating because I know that I need time alone. We both know that alone we have to cultivate our life with the Lord, our prayer life with the Lord, because we heard this great thing from a sermon at Upper Room that said that you will stand in front of God for your life, not with you and your husband, not for your spouse. You stand in front of the Lord and give account for your life. And so I need to make sure that I'm on the right page. He needs to make sure he's on the right page. And together we're gonna become more one. Yeah. On the right page.
Yeah. Just one more last thing adding to this point is that if you are together, or if you decide you want to be together, it's okay, it's good. Just do it healthily. Do it always healthily, being aware of people around you as well. There's also people around you, and that's something that we probably made a mistake while dating. Is that we were just secluded to ourselves at least the first months of our relationship. But after that, we realized that we also had community. We also had people around us. So we started to be more aware of that. So do it. Take that decision, but do it healthily. Everything has to be in a healthy way.
Don't be so clingy, like women. Or men. Don't be so clingy to your spouse that you lose all your friendships. That you can't worship without them. I have a hard time falling asleep without him in the bed now, but at the same time, I can still fall asleep just fine if he's not there. Above all else, I have to say, just to end, because I think that's everything, to put the Lord first in everything. Like, just put him up there. When he's the best thing that we have had since we were talking was if he's here and we're here, the closer we are to him, the closer we are to each other, just like a triangle. And so if you continually keep him first, you will very obviously get closer to your husband, whether you try or not, because and if he's coming closer to him as well, because the Lord values marriage, the Lord values unity, and what the Lord has brought together, no man can separate. And so he is going to draw you in and draw you close to each other because he loves marriage. He loves love.
Focus on cultivating a relationship with God too. Make sure that that's a priority in y'all's marriage. Yeah, definitely. That's a great point. And there you have it. 3 things we wish we knew before getting married.
Yeah, I think these are very important to know. They're things that we wish we would have walked into our marriage with. And even at 4 months married, we have I'm so thankful we have grasped this, and the Lord has given us the wisdom and the guidance to grasp things so we become closer. And it's always our goal to just keep working on our marriage, to keep working on how we pursue the Lord and how we talk to each other. We're not going to be perfect, and we're going to be like 99, and there's still something to learn. You're still not perfect.
Every day. There's always something to learn.
But the best thing to remember, other than putting the Lord first, is that marriage is always going to get better.
Yeah.
Every day it gets better.
Yeah. You just have to work on it.
Yeah.
Put some little bit of effort and it'll work.
Yep.
But
the best is not. It's not a honeymoon phase. The best is not just the beginning. It's for your life. It's every day.
Yeah. But yeah, that would be it. That would be it for today. Just remember to subscribe. Remember to like the video, turn on notifications, and comment if you have a request. If you
if you disagree with us.
If you disagree with us, if you have something, a point that you're like, hey, I don't really agree with this. What do you guys think about this idea?
Yeah.
We would love to answer. And if you have a prayer request, write it down in the comments and we'll answer. So that's it.
That's it. We'll see you guys in another video.
Bye-bye.